Good morning, Diana Minotti with Diana Minotti Fine Art Antiques and Collectibles, and our show today of Antiques Treasures, trying to make antiques great again. I'm here with my husband Perry Mitrano,
That's me.
and you want to tell him about the gallery?
Well, the reason why we're here today specifically is that the gallery has some artwork that's very unique to the show, which is Highwaymen. And at the gallery, we have other fine art, antiques, and collectibles that you should come and give us a visit at 15 Palm Harbor Village Way, right here on the Great Palm Coast, 32137. And come in, give me a visit. I'll be there usually every day during the week.
So it is Valentine weekend, and we are running a sale at the gallery for Valentine's Day. We have lots of beautiful ruby glass. If you need a beautiful vase for a bouquet of flowers for that special someone, we have all kinds of cookie and cake platters if you're hosting. So there's lots to pick from. And then the weekend estate sale is antiques. It's called Antiques, guitars, LPs, and trains. And that has a really large collection. And all of it is brand new in the box, never opened. So that's taking place at 31 Eastmore Lane. And so we'll be wrapping up on, it'll be Friday, Saturday, and we're wrapping it up on Monday. So we have that going on. And today's show, we're concentrating on the Highwaymen commemoration of Black History Month. I have very special guests with me. I have Frank Mannino from Bunnell that I met probably 15 years ago, who introduced me to the Highwaymen, I have to say. The Highwaymen paintings would always end up in the Goodwill pile when I would get at an estate sale. Many of the families had no idea what they were and what their value was. And with today's at them at the forefront, it's really exponentially has increased. Our other special guest is our county commissioner, Leann Pennington. And Leann is a collector. She had seen a show at ours and has been so inspired. So, Frank, can you just give us a background of what is the Highwaymen for those who don't know? It's a very regional thing in Florida, so many people outside this area don't even know what it is.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. Yeah, the Highwayman movement started uh, actually after a gentleman by the name of Jim Fritz Fitz, and he was hired by the state of Florida to find these artists. He was down in the Sebring area of Florida, and he had a gallery, and he knew Robert Butler. So he came up to the Fort Pierce area and looked for these artists, supposed artists. Um, these artists weren't able to sell their art at the galleries during the 50s and the 60s. So that's where he got the moniker of the Highwayman. I know you think of a highwayman as a robber, but they weren't robbers, that's for sure. But they sold their art on the side of the road. They had some people selling their art for them. One of the sellers were Al Black, and they would sell their art wherever they could sell it. They would go door to door, business to business, and they tried to sell their art, making a living. Instead of picking oranges in the groves of South Florida, they decided they would try and sell art, and they did one heck of a job at that time. Alfred Hare could make $200 a day. In that time, that wasn't even that was more than most people made in a week. So they were able to make money selling their art. Uh, there were uh, there were 25 men and one woman who were considered the group, and they also were inducted into the Florida Hall of Fame in Tallahassee. The Highwaymen, there are many things going on right now. Uh, there's some movies going to be coming out, and there's a number of other things that are going on.
I got some questions. Can I
Already,
ask some
wow.
questions? Yeah, I got questions.
Well, I just want to recap it in that it's the African American artists due to segregation
Yes.
that were not able to actually exhibit in the museums and the galleries. And you brought up a very interesting point, Leann, about how they didn't paint the orange groves.
No, there's very few orange groves scenes. In fact, one of the artists that I collect, he actually worked in the orange groves, and they're very desirable now. But they tend to just paint. They painted in mass. Over 200,000, they believe, were painted by these 26 artists. They painted in mass just because they had to sell at a lower value, so they needed to crank them out in order to get $20-$25 a painting. And because Bacchus, who was their mentor, he was making like $300 a painting, but it's because he was white and he was established.
Considered the landscape father of Florida landscape at that point, and his paintings really were different.
Yeah, and so
He painted slow and more fine art.
Yeah, and so these gentlemen just saw his work, mentored with him, and said, "I can do that, but it's going to be harder for me to bring that kind of money." And so they just mass produced for doctors' offices and everything like
Quantity instead of quality.
that. Right. They were the original Hobby Lobby.
But they could paint very
They could.
well if they painted slow.
Yeah.
I've seen some of Alfred Hare's that were painted with Bacchus. I had some. They were absolutely beautiful.
So because they really didn't have the money also, I mean, people always looking at, well, what are they painting on? So it's like Upson board. Sometimes they paint on the waffle side, sometimes on the flat side. And were they painting with house paint and molding was door molding?
Well, they did use
the
crown.
frame?
They did use crown molding, and they painted on any medium that they could find. Of course, Upson board was perfect because the size. They would cut it a 4x8 sheet into sizes that no waste, 2x4, whatever it might be. But they always cut it so that there was no waste. I actually have a Harold Newton from the 50s that was painted on a pane of glass.
Huh.
I was going to bring it in, but it's actually painted. It's an 8x10 from the late 50s, and it was painted on glass. Harold Newton also painted on velvet.
Really?
He painted on velvet,
Never
and,
seen
and he used to paint religious scenes, and that's where Beanie Bacchus came in and said, "Stop painting religious scenes and paint landscapes." So he convinced Harold to paint landscapes, and the rest is history.
So let me ask you both. Actually, I think Leann and you would really know a lot of these questions because you follow the artwork so well. And at one point, we had about how many? 75 of these in the shop.
No, we had a collection of Florida art, a family that was collecting when they were from Pennsylvania. They came to Florida. They were buying all of the Florida artwork, but they went back to Pennsylvania and it wasn't going to fit with their decor. But we did have a handful of Highwaymen and inspired.
Some curator I
Aye.
am. I don't even know how many we had. Okay, well, anyway. So, according to
Lot.
according to auction records, which artist is the most desirable? Do either of you know?
Oh, sure. Well, of course, Harold seems to be the most desirable, but everybody has their own desirability of what they like and what they think is the most desirable. But Harold Newton, of course, is probably the most desirable.
He's hitting unbelievable auction records.
yeah,
I can't believe it. I
Well-
mean, I've sold some of his paintings back in the day for 800, 2,000.
Bought some of them.
I know you did.
I think last month he hit 31,000. It depends on the subject matter and the size. but
Absolutely. Actually, the record, I have the record.
I think it's Moran, because I was looking this up because,
Yeah.
like he said, some people, I just collect Chico Wheeler, but
Yeah.
some people want one of every 26.
Yes.
And I guess to
And
really get to that goal, you have to have a Moran, and he just didn't paint because he actually made more money shooting pool and gambling.
Yes.
And
He was-
so he didn't
Yes.
paint as much.
Boy,
That's
what a
true.
lifestyle.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, he
no,
hit
which-
40,000,
actually,
I think.
actually, the auction record at Bouchard's auction on 4/22/18 was a Harold Newton. It went for 46,000
Wow.
plus the VIG or the
Yeah,
buyer's.
Buyer's premium.
It went for $55,200,
Gosh.
and
Wow.
that was the record as far as auction out of Ascot. I belong to Ascot.
Which artists are in the museums?
I actually, the Smithsonian, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the Smithsonian has a permanent collection.
Right.
And it is Chico, Alfred, and Harold Newton primarily in their collection. 17
And
pieces.
and there's also the Florida House. The Florida House is in Washington D.C. I've been there a number of times. I can give you the address, and they usually have a collection of Highwaymen and other Indian River School artists, but it's right next to the Capitol building.
Yeah, speaking of that, I think Leann really knows quite a bit about that. Tell us.
No, I got into Highwaymen, and then I
Well-
became a county commissioner.
Well, wait a minute. We were installing the artwork. We just got it off the truck, and Leann strolls into the gallery, and she says, "What is this?"
I know, like, you had. If I look back now, knowing more about them than I
I
did
would've
do
bought 'em
then,
all.
I'd have bought them all. But you had a good collection of all of them, so you could see the differences. Maynard and Al Black and Willie Daniels and all that. And so I really gravitated to Chico Wheeler because he's such a dark painter. But it reminded me of Flagler County more
Let's show one.
because it looked like Tomoka Basin, his
Yeah.
artwork, like when the rain's coming in, and so I gravitated to him. So that's how I ended up with this is one of my Chicos.
Well, he's also
He's very-
very, very heavy impasto. Like
Right,
it's
and that makes a
thick.
difference.
It
the
does.
the heavier the paint and the impasto or the palette work, the more valuable paintings are, especially Harold's or any of them. I don't care which artist it is. If they have heavy palette, that painting is worth much more. He's really much more of a folk artist, really, and most of them are, but some of them are fine art. But he's more of a focus.
So this really, to me, when I walked in there and saw, because there was about 4 or 5 that looked like this, I said, this looks more like Flagler County, like when I'm in Longs Creek on the boat or something, and
Yeah.
the rain's coming in or the
That's
sun's setting. So to me, it meant something more to me
That's right.
and I guess that's what happens with Highwaymen. You find your
Well-
niche of who.
Well, that's it. They're not really plain air
Yeah.
artists. Their images are usually what they've seen over the years, and they paint those images. That's why that image could be from South Florida, North Florida, anywhere in Florida.
could be the
because
loop right
It
here.
could be the loop,
The loop.
and that's what it is with them. They didn't plain air where they actually set in a location and painted the exact spot. It's more of what they remember in their minds of what they saw.
That's right.
And at an estate sale, like I'd find these in the house, and on the back would be a sticker, $25, $40. It's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Good for Leann. So tell us about what you saw when you went
No.
up to the State House.
Yeah, so then I become a county commissioner, and here I am collecting them. And I get up to the State House in Ashley Moody's office, and they're everywhere. And I said, "Oh my God, look at all the Highwaymen!" Because now I know what I'm looking at, And I'm geeking out in her office. And I go to the governor's office; they're in his office. And we go up to Speaker Paul Renner's office, and it's the first thing you see, along with El
Totami.
Yeah, his Orange Grove scene.
The Egyptian, they call him the
Yes,
Egyptian.
he's an
highwayman.
amazing artist, and so the House and Senate are full of Highwaymen paintings up in Tallahassee.
Well, you know who started that was the Bush family.
Oh,
The Bush
Jeb?
family, they really went head over heels. With,
I did
Highwaymen.
not know that.
that
And
explains a lot.
also,
What year was
But
that then? When was
I
Jeb?
met Jeb Bush when I was up there. He's a pretty tall guy. You got to tell us
Well,
about
that's
this
important.
one. You got to tell us about this one after Frank gives us this tip here.
well, I was going to say that actually, Childs, Mr. and Mrs. Childs, our governors way back then, they're the ones that really kind of instigated the start of this because they got Jim Fitch and to find these highwaymen or
and piece all the 26 of them
and
together.
well,
right?
and
Right.
between Jim Fitch giving them the moniker, and then of course Gary Monroe putting together in 2001 the number, the 25 men and one woman, and getting them inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2004. So there are a number of people that really were important, but actually Governor Childs was really the one who kind of started this thing, and he was the one that instigated a lot of the trying to get this stuff started.
How did
And
Mary Ann Carroll get involved? How did they get
Who,
one?
who was Mary Ann Carroll?
She's the only woman.
only woman.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Of
of course,
the
she was
26.
close with Harold
Harold Newton.
Newton. You know, she liked the flames on his car, and she said,
True story.
"Yeah, she
Yeah.
loved the flames on his car." And he said, "Yeah, I painted them," and she couldn't believe it. And then she started acting, painting with him.
I've never seen one in person. Have you had? I'm sure you've owned them.
What's that?
Mary Ann Carroll.
Oh yeah, I've got 6 of them that were in the book.
Wow.
And my name does show up in that book, the Mary Ann Carroll book.
I saw one recently at Renneger's. Very small though, and so
I've got
Floral.
a couple hanging in Antique City in Micanopy, because I'm a dealer there, and I have probably 15 or 20 paintings in that antique mall. I have a number of other antique malls also. That I'm in 4 different antique malls, and I'm also in Poppy's Market here in Bunnell, and that's one of the things that people who want to start collecting these should go and look and see as much as they can to educate themselves on it.
And a lot of people thrifting. That's what they're looking for.
Absolutely.
It's
is
hard
on
to
the-
find them, though. It really is. It's gotten almost impossible.
Well, because now
Yeah.
people are.
well, the
really
movie's
looking for-
coming, and people moved here post COVID from up north, and they were like, "What's the Florida artist?" Right?
Yeah.
So they've kind of got into that whole
Yeah.
renaissance of
Yeah, absolutely.
Highwaymen.
Yeah, once they hear it and see it, and PBS sometimes has the movies or the clips that are on television.
Yeah.
You have to really educate yourself. If you're going to buy these paintings, you need to buy the books,
There's the
go
videos.
online,
There's a
get the
couple of
videos,
out.
yeah, and do whatever you can to.
But I've had
Curious.
many a family don't even know they have them. I had a lady in Ormond Beach. There was a beautiful little seascape over Mom's bed. Mom passed, and she asked me to do the estate sale. And when I met her to give her her proceeds check, we used to have it categorized by most important value and lead from there. So at the top was the painting. So she's reading the report, and she starts to cry, and because they really needed the money, and she said to me, "What is this? What is this? $3,000. What is this?" I said, "Well, that was that little painting that you had in the Goodwill pile." And she said, "Oh my gosh, this is really going to help us. I can't believe it." And I'm just so thankful that it didn't end up in Goodwill, and that you spotted it, and that you were honest enough
To
to
do-
sell it on my behalf
Absolutely.
and pay her for
Right,
it.
that's right.
It would have been out the door.
Can we let Leann comment
Oh.
on this piece?
This is so I only like, you have a thing.
Dark.
Some people love all of it, and I only love Chico because he's dark and it looks like Flagler. And my husband was like, "I want this one," and I remember I didn't want this one. I was like, it's so bright.
I
Vivid
think he-
colors.
he-
Look
he-
at the vivid
They call
colors
them-
on
yeah,
it.
I bought this for
The
your
colors.
birthday as a surprise
He
because you
did.
didn't want it.
And I was like, I don't really want the bright. I love the dark. And that is from what I'm learning now is, from Manor auctions and all that. That's what they want from Chico. He didn't do much bright, but when he did, it was almost always a pink sky.
Yeah, but what makes it special
It's
is
the dog.
Yeah.
The little things,
Yeah,
right?
Oh, yeah, yes, absolutely. Those little features.
Washerwomen.
Washerwomen and what have you.
Yeah. So that's another thing when you get into Highwaymen.
All-
You
yeah.
start to look for these
Perry,
Easter
let's
eggs.
show
Call it.
Frank's painting.
Yeah.
So, Frank, this is Newton, but not Harold Newton.
This is Sam Newton,
his brother.
his brother. I
Okay.
bought it. I bought it directly from Sam Newton. I used to buy paintings directly from him. He would come up through Flagler County to visit his brother, Lem, in Georgia. And every Thanksgiving and every so many months, he would come through Flagler County, and he'd stop here. So I had a relationship with Sam. And this painting here, I purchased it from him. And you can see the features that are in there. A person, a building. It's got heavy palette. It's got all the features that you would say is a special painting. That's what makes some paintings special.
Yeah, I've never had a painting with a figure.
No, and a lot of people haven't, and that's what makes the value in some of these paintings. Now, the painting that was sold for $55,000 at Bouchard's was outstanding. It had everything in it, all the features you could ever want, and I'll let you.
Well, this is the one that I purchased because it's a seascape
Yep.
and
Willie-
not typical
Right, Willie
of the
Daniels.
Highwaymen.
Yeah, Willie
So I
Daniels.
figured, this would be good as an investment piece because it goes both ways.
It does.
It could be
Yeah.
if it's typical, it could be worth more, or if it's atypical, it
Right.
could be worth more.
That's right.
What do you think, Frank?
Well, yes, and you have birds in flight. Look at the birds up there, and it's got some palette. You can feel the paint. That makes a difference. The depth of that paint, and Willie was an excellent artist. I met him a number of times. I went to his house in Fort Pierce. I had paintings that I needed to have verified, so I went to his place. I'm telling you, this Highwayman thing inspired so many people, and especially me. Can I tell a story about this painting?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would love to
Oh,
tell
it has
you
a
a story.
poinciana tree. Woo!
Well, but that's a Harold Newton. It was 24 by 30, 24 wide, 30 high. The woman that owned that painting was working at the Department of Agriculture here in Flagler County. And she lived in Palm Coast in a condo. And her husband had cancer. She originally lived in Fort Pierce, and he was a preacher in a Methodist church down there. They purchased this for $100. Okay? And she says to me, and I was talking to her because I was doing some business at the Department of Agriculture. And she says to me, my husband is so sick, he has cancer, and we live in a 2-story condo. We need some money to get a lift. I said, well, let me see the painting. I said, let me see the painting. So she shows it to me. I says, I almost fell on the floor. I said, that painting's worth a lot of money. She says, oh, God, how much could it be worth? Now, this is going back 15, 18 years ago. I can't remember exactly the date. But so anyway, to make a long story short, I told her what I would give her for this painting. And I don't know if I should tell you how much it went for.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. Anyway, when she heard the number, she couldn't believe it. And I ended up writing a check for her. And she was able to put her
Go ahead.
her elevator in a lift chair in her condo.
Wow.
And of course, subsequently, her husband did pass away. But she just could not believe. I mean, it was enough money to put the chair.
What do you think that painting would be worth today?
40, 45. Yeah. I actually resold it for a number that was substantially. I made money on it, and she was so happy. But she cried. She couldn't believe it. But that's the kind of stories that I've listened to all my life, with this Highwaymen.
I know you're in the last 2 minutes. I just want to mention really quick that there is a new mural in Hastings, Florida, downtown area, that is an R.L. Lewis mural. He didn't paint it. He painted the painting, and they did the replication of it. Highly recommend people going out there to see it.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful.
And
So-
also,
and it's close to home.
they're going to open up a museum there because upstairs in that Ford dealership, I've been up there, there are 4 or 5 murals that Beanie Backus painted
Oh, wow.
back in the 20s when he was coming.
What?
This is a true
I-
story.
Wow.
He didn't sign them, but and of course they're rather, they're crude for him, but it was in the early 20s.
Yeah, early
He was
stages.
traveling.
What a great show! I got to tell you, what a great show.
We
I'm
can
sorry.
do a
We're gonna-
whole
we're
series
gonna
on the
run out of time.
Highwaymen.
We could be here.
Well, I
for
want to
2
see the
hours.
movie. I can't wait. When
Well,
is it coming out?
yeah.
They've been
It should
talking
be-
about it for
well,
years
There's
now.
a number of movies, but the one that Paul Baratini and Kenny Holmes are doing, and of course the actor in that movie is Kelvin Hare Jr.
Really?
Uh-huh. Kelvin Hare is the son of Alfred Hare,
Right.
but his son, who was an actor in Atlanta, he's always on BET. And, Kelvin Hare Jr. Is in the movie, and it's supposed to come out very soon. I don't have the exact date, but there's also another documentary that's been worked on for the last 3 years.
Well, we're going to have to save that for another show. But
Okay.
let's just recap real quick. We had the Chico Wheelers here from Leann Pennington, and we had the Johnny Daniels here from
No, I
Willie.
had ours is the Willie Daniels,
ours
the
is
Seascape.
Willie Daniels. That's correct.
There is an artist, Johnny Daniels, is also part of the Highwaymen, but we have the Willie.
And Frank brought in
We have a Johnny at the gallery now.
right.
They're undervalued.
I have a Johnny. Well, I think what's
Second
hurting it is
generation?
the frame. It's not the clamshell molding. It's like a contemporary frame,
You
and I
can-
think somebody should just.
You can get those frames made. I have people that would make them for you.
Well, it must be whoever's doing like Newton's nephew there, Harold Newton's, the Tracy Newton.
Tracy Newton is Sam Newton's son.
Right,
Yeah.
and they have the clamshell moldings,
Yeah.
and you could tell they're new, but
Yeah.
it's the right
Yeah.
look.
Yeah.
And then we have one Al Black still at the gallery.
I think so. Do you want to close this out for the remainder of the show? We're
Well, what I implore Miss Pennington as a county commissioner is, do you think we'll get a mural for Flagler
we
County?
are looking at 2 murals to be discussed soon, but I'm it may be Highwaymen-esque. I was talking to the lady that did that in Hastings this morning about it.
Oh, so maybe that'll be
Jenna?
another show then. We'll
Jenna?
definitely
Yeah.
follow up on that. That would be great.
Yeah.
So, as a recap, we're going to wrap it up for now, and I am working on. I got to keep it secret right now because it's not for sure, but what we have coming up. But again, happy Valentine's Day for everyone out there.
Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead.
Okay. I think that people should know that Al Black, who produces a tremendous amount of paintings
He's
right
still
now,
out there.
and he's painting, and there's only 5 left. But Al Black's paintings can still be purchased for much less than most of the other ones.
Thanks, Frank.
And
It'd be a good place to start.
Appreciate that.
absolutely, I think that Al Black should be looked at, and because when he stops painting, his paintings will. I can't say they're going to, but his paintings will increase by a tremendous amount when he stops painting, and that could happen anytime.
Well, it's time to thank our guest, Diana.
Well, thank you, Frank. I really appreciate it. I appreciate our friendship. It's a very long time. You've always been very educational. There's a lot of dealers that keep things close to the breast, but you've been always open and educating people, and it's been very much appreciated.
I believe in the total milieu, which means everybody should have as much information as possible because it makes it better for everybody, and I believe that.
And thank you, Leann, for taking. I know you're busy, making the time for us this morning. I appreciate
No, thanks for
it.
having me on. Thank you.
Appreciate your friendship.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Diana
folks.
and Perry.
Thank you, Perry.
It's our pleasure, and I'm Perry Mitrano. I'm Diana's husband, and we're very happy to have you come visit us at the Diana Minotti Fine Art Antiques and Collectibles Shop, 15 Palm Harbor Village Way, right behind the Sheriff's Office on Old Kings Road. Give us a visit.
And also, you should sign up for the newsletter. I
Yeah.
publish it. I'm going to go back to the gallery right now, and I'm going to put it out every Thursday. We publish a newsletter. You can go to the website, dianafineart.com, and sign up, subscribe. It's free, and you'll get in your email every Thursday a newsletter that shows what's new in the shop as far as a new arrival, what sale we're doing for the weekend, and you can stay
which
abreast
we
of
have
what's
a really
going
good
on.
sale this week, a really nice one, so you want to
Yeah,
definitely
we
attend.
certainly do.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.